Let's talk a little bit about motivation, right? Motivation is also important, and I've seen some questions coming up. How do I get my kid to do it if he doesn't want to do it? How do I get my kid to actually stop doing whatever it is he's doing that's a preferred activity and get him over here? How do I get him to do a task and not be struggling with him the whole time? Right? And understandably so, especially if your child isn't accustomed to participating in lots of activities, right? It might be difficult initially to get them to join you because they're accustomed to being on their iPad or watching TV or playing with a particular toy or doing whatever kinds of things it is that they typically do. The reality is, however, that at some point we all become adults and we're kind of responsible for taking care of some things ourselves. And, regardless of, whether or not your child has autism or a developmental disability, they too should be learning to be as responsible as they can be for managing their day-to-day needs. So we've got to sort of try to teach them that you can't always just play, right? Sometimes there are things that you have to do, and when you do those, then you can do the other kinds of things that you enjoy. Right? And to get there, we have to start with some motivation. How do we motivate kids to do things that maybe don't look quite as exciting as the iPad or the Nintendo or their Lego or what have you? So, there may be some children, and I have seen these children, they do exist. Some children don't need a lot of motivation. Particularly if your child really, really likes your attention and your attention is really motivating and really rewarding, they really like to just be with you. So if you're always in that situation where it's like, go away, go away, go away, I'm trying to do stuff, and your kid wants to be with you all the time, you might have an easier time of the motivation thing because you yourself are the motivation, right? Your child wants to be with you. So whether it's laundry or setting the table or vacuuming, they don't care. They just want to be with you, doing stuff with you. And if that's the case, you have a little bit of an easier ride. Lucky you, at least for this. But if your child is maybe more interested in iPad than hanging out with you, and certainly more interested in iPad than hanging out with you and doing a chore, then you're going to probably need to think about reinforcement, motivation, okay? Now, whenever I start to talk about this, about motivating people to do things or rewarding people to do things, the question always comes back, well, people should just do things for the intrinsic enjoyment. And I say, sure, but I also say, do you go to work for the intrinsic enjoyment only? And I suspect that the answer is no. Hopefully most of us enjoy our jobs. We get some personal satisfaction out of it. But unless you're rich and, money doesn't really matter, you're not going to work just for the enjoyment. You're going to work because you get paid to work. You're doing laundry because you like to have clean clothes to wear. You cook meals because you like to eat food, right? At some point you get hungry. You clean your house because you don't like sitting around in a bunch of filth and you feel much better when it's clean, okay? So you do access rewards and there is motivation set out there to kind of get you to do stuff, right? That's why you get paid and that's why you're told if you come to work, you will get paid. That's your motivation to go. Sometimes we remember that when the alarm is going off really early on a winter morning and it's dark and gross outside and we don't want to get up. But the thought in our head is, if I don't get up and go to work, I don't get paid. And then we get up and go to work, right? So we all do get rewarded for stuff, and there are things that motivate us to do stuff. So setting things up that way to motivate kids to do stuff and to reward or reinforce kids for doing stuff is really not that much different than what happens for most of us, okay? So how then are we going to motivate kids? Because it's not like kids are going, oh, goody, I get to vacuum. Oh, yay, it's time to do laundry. But certainly providing information about work and then fun, whether you do that in a first-then kind of visual, or you use a visual schedule, or you use a token board, right? But providing information to kids so that they know when the good stuff comes, that's going to be really helpful, okay? And again, we have this information. Like, we as adults have this information. We know when payday is, right? We know when there's going to be money deposited in our bank account. Usually, we book holidays, right? We book vacation time and we plan trips. We might still be booking vacation time, but right now we're not really planning a whole lot of trips. But I don't know about you, but for me, typically, I will plan trips and I go to work and, that's my motivation, right? Keep going to work, keep working, because soon you get to go on vacation and do these fun things. And so we do that kind of stuff for ourselves as well to kind of help get us through the chores of life, okay? So think about doing those kinds of things. Also, like we talked about yesterday, see how you can embed fun into the activities. Like, laundry doesn't have to be drudgery. It can be fun. Vacuuming doesn't have to be horrible. That can be fun. Making your bed can be fun, right? I mean, lots of us go, really? But we can make it fun for kids so that, they don't hate doing it. There's at least some enjoyment in there. We can also provide choices, and choices are another way to help motivate kids to do things, because when kids feel that they've got some control, they're more likely to sort of be cooperative. And again, same thing for you. You make a choice. Do you have coffee first and then make your bed and then have a shower, or what order do you do things in? You get to exert some control, and you do things the way you like to do things. So we can set things up for kids like that too and give them a bit more control, which makes it a bit more likely that they kind of join in and do some of these activities, okay? So again, this idea of reinforcement, this is just about, providing access to something that a person likes, right? Fun, rewarding, providing that after work. Okay, and that's going to increase work completion. So when we talk about reinforcement, that's really what we're talking about. And again, just a reminder, we all experience this. We all get some sort of reinforcement after we do some work, be that, getting paid for going to work and doing a job, or being rewarded for completing tasks. You clean your house, and then you get to kick back and relax. You cook a meal, and then you get to sit down and enjoy it. Hopefully, right? Some of you have kids. I know that the enjoying of the meal doesn't always follow the cooking of the meal, but it will one day. Putting your child to bed, here's one, and then enjoying a beverage, right? So you always kind of work out rewards for yourself, and you schedule your day in such a way that there are these little things coming up. And it's a way of helping to sort of keep us going and get us through and sort of, good job, pat on the back, okay? So if we want to do the same kinds of things for kids, we can think about simple first then, right? Show your child what they need to do first and what they're going to get to do after, right? So you pick up your toys, then you get some iPad time. You can also use first then and embed some choice. So first you're going to sort the cutlery and put away the cutlery from the dishwasher, right? You're too little to get stuff up into the cupboards maybe to put away plates and stuff, but I can give you the cutlery tray and you can sort cutlery. It's also on your home program, right? You're working on that in early intervention. It's another great opportunity. So sort cutlery, and then when you're done, do you want to do Play-Doh or do you want to play with your marble works? Okay, and your child can make a choice of what it is they want to access after putting away cutlery. It goes down first cutlery, then Play-Doh or whatever they choose. Okay, so like that. You can also give a choice about the chore, right? So again, as adults, we often make some degree of choice around chores that we're going to do. Some people like to get all their chores done in one day, get it done. Other people like to spread them out. Some people like to do some things on certain days and other things on different days, right? We all have our ways. That's all fine. So we could give choices every day, right? So I've got a week's worth of chores, and every day I give a choice from two things. And whatever you don't choose comes back as a choice the next day until everything gets done. So you could have a choice between putting clothes away in your dresser or dusting. And then you choose your reinforcer as well. We could bake cookies together, or you could do a craft, right? So your child could maybe choose dusting and then chooses baking cookies after. There's our first then, okay? And then we can also use token boards. So I suspect that lots of you are familiar with the notion of token boards as a way of showing kids what they're working towards and when they've done enough work to access whatever it is that they want. So these can be a really good way to motivate people. It's also a good way to kind of build endurance, right? So you might be starting with your child doing just one task or part of a task and being done. But over time, you want to start to build so that they're doing a little bit more and a little bit more. So you can actually start by, you get one token and then you get what you want. Then you have to earn 2 tokens to get what you want. Then you have to earn 3 tokens and so on and so forth. So you can sort of build endurance that way. It could be do 1 task, do 2 tasks, do 3 tasks. It could also be work for 5 minutes, get what you want. Work for 10 minutes, get what you want. Work for 15 minutes, get what you want, and so on and so forth, okay? And you can also, again, embed preferred items, preferred characters as the tokens. So for example, here's a token board that was made for a girl who was into the movie Frozen. If I recall correctly, I think this is Elsa. It's been a while since I watched it. I'm sure some of you have watched it many more times than I have. And so she's working for time watching Disney Plus, and she earns Elsa tokens. And when she has, on this board, 3, then she gets to have Disney Plus time and she can watch something on Disney Plus, okay? So that's a way. You can also set up token boards like this. So here's a child and he's working for a $5 bill. He's earning money now. And that's the other cool thing that you can do with token boards is to start to transition towards earning money and then using money to make purchases. And so for this child, he's got a whole bunch of chores that he needs to do during the week. Doesn't matter when he does them, right? But he needs to do different chores. So if he makes his bed once, he vacuums, he puts away the dishes from the dishwasher, sets the table, takes out the garbage, waters the plants, he gets $5, okay? And so you can set things up that way. You can show these are the tasks that I want you to do over a specified period of time. And when you're done, then you get what you want. When kids figure out that they're getting money, especially, what you sometimes start to see is that they start doing even more work because they cotton on to the fact that like money gets them stuff. And so they're like in one day doing all their chores. See, done. Then you just start to think about giving them a bit more work, right? So they have to work a bit more for money because otherwise you're going to go broke really fast, okay? We can also do something like this. So here's a kid, needs to make his bed 6 days in a row before he gets what he's working for. And he's working for pizza night, right? Pizza delivery. And so every time that he makes his bed every day, he gets a token. And so if he does it 6 days in a row, right? Like we'll give him 1 day off, then he gets pizza. Okay, so you can set things up that way. You can also set up a token board kind of like a game board. And so for this kid, he was really into sort of medieval stuff, castles and knights and whatnot. And so the castle is where he's working towards. And whenever he gets to the castle, he's got sort of a choice menu board of things that he can choose from at that point. But he's got to fill all of the dots along the way. So every time that he finishes a chore, and there's a variety of chores that his parents give him, he gets a little knight sticker that he can put onto his game board. And when his game board is full, then he can go to his menu and choose something as a reinforcer at that moment. One of the reasons that we try to give choices in terms of reinforcers is that, for him, when he gets to the castle, maybe on that particular day, he really, really wants some iPad time. But maybe on a different day, he would really, really want something else. And if we give choices, it's more likely that whatever the kid chooses is what they really, really want at that moment, and it's likely to be more rewarding than if we just made the choice, right? Because it's like sometimes you feel like pizza and other times you don't, but if somebody gives you pizza when you don't feel like it, it's really not a reward unless you really, really love pizza all the time, okay? Another way you can do token boards is to take a big picture of something and cut it up into puzzle pieces, right? So I had a kid who really loved going to Dairy Queen. That was the reinforcer. And so what this family did as tokens would be to take a Dairy Queen picture and cut it up into pieces. And so initially, Dairy Queen was 2 pieces, needed to do 2 tasks. 2 tasks done, go to Dairy Queen. Then 3. Cut into 3 pieces, then 4 pieces, then 6 pieces. So generally, over time, very gradually, we added the number of pieces, right? And for this kid, then he'd put his puzzle together, which also was kind of a fun task. He liked puzzles. And then at the end of the day, puts the puzzle together. When we have a Dairy Queen puzzle all put together, we get to go to Dairy Queen, okay? So those are the kinds of things that we can do in terms of sort of providing tokens, letting kids know what they're going to get when they earn enough, or just providing information about what good is coming up if you do what you're doing now. So that's going to be part of your task, not just to think about what skills that you want to teach and how you're going to set up perhaps some visuals to help give that information, but then also thinking about how do you start to get your kid involved in things, especially if your kid is, on sort of the light end, a bit reluctant, or maybe on the not so light end, very reluctant, resistant even. How are you going to kind of coax your kid along to come and be engaged? And so you're going to start small. You're not going to ask for the world. You're going to ask for one little thing that's maybe really easy, right? Not very difficult at all. And then when they do it, you're going to provide them with lots of reward, lots of reinforcement for doing so. And then when they get the idea of, oh, I do some work and then this fun thing happens, then you very gradually, not too much too fast, gradually start to add a little bit more work, just a little bit more work to get the reward. And then a little bit more work to get the reward. And over time, essentially what you're going to do is go from little work and big reward to bigger work for a little less reward, right? And what those ratios look like, that really depends. It depends on your child. It depends on the tasks. Again, if you think about for yourself, there's always a point where you will stop going to work if you're not being paid enough, right? Or you'll start looking for another job, right? So there comes a point where the work isn't worth the reward that you're getting. So if you ever get to that place with your child where you're asking them to do work and the reward doesn't seem to be enough to motivate them to keep going, your reward might be too small or your work is too great and you need to readjust those ratios a little bit, okay?